Hi everyone and welcome back to One Autistic Person. This is the 14th video in a 50 video series that I'm creating, going through the questions and statements of the Autism Quotient questionnaire, which is used as a pre-screening tool quite often during the diagnosis process. As with the diagnosis process in general, it looks at the traits of autism in sort of a deficit way, and I wanted to do a series of videos that to flip that narrative and looked at it, either looked at those traits as potential benefits, or if we can't find benefits to it, what are we doing to mitigate the issues that are caused by that trait. So like I say, this is the number 14, and this one is I find making up stories easy. Now, I've said slightly disagree to this one, and that's because I write fiction. So it's definitely not a definitely disagree, because I can obviously make up stories, but I do find it difficult. But I did also want to go down the route of this with, this actually would imply lying is difficult, and I really struggle with lying. Quite often, if I have to lie, there's lots of tells that I give. I will giggle. My eye contact situation gets even worse than it does generally. My body language gives me away. I really struggle with it, and I struggle with this at work when I have to even sort of not tell people something. So keeping confidentiality in relation to like a change or something like that, I really struggle with it, and I end up really not being able to stop myself from not necessarily saying it, but not making it very obvious at the fact that I'm in my view covering something up. I personally feel like we should be open and honest with everybody. I know that's not always possible, and sometimes lying is necessary in life, but I also kind of really don't come up with very good lies either. If I have to lie about something, I get very, I can practice it, and if I'm brought out of that practice, then I can't think of anything to say to carry the story on. I'm very direct with everything I think, and I'm very literal and very factual in the way that I am. So I really struggle with making up stories in that respect, but I do struggle in making up stories when it comes to fiction. I have to go really in depth into things. I end up hyper focusing, going into sort of really minute detail about a character. So I'll do a character profile and I'll go into a huge amount of detail. But I also get very lost very quickly if I don't hold it all together and start putting the story together, because I can't hold lots of different bits of information about a story. Even if I've written it down, I really struggle to then bring it all together. So I have to kind of start the story for me to be able to do it. One of the things that I have found that I do with fiction is when I'm really stressed and when I'm really over ruminating about, because I can over ruminate about how bad the world feels, and especially when it comes to sort of political and societal issues, I have a huge sense of social justice that's probably quite extreme in comparison to a lot of people, and I worry a lot about where society is going. Ironically, seeing as I don't spend very much time in society, I do worry about where it's going and how people are being treated. So I quite often, when that gets too much for me, I will sort of power write. So it'll be a rubbish story. It'll just be, but it will be me processing that information. So again, me saying slightly disagree with this, what I will do is if things are building up, if my bucket is getting full, if my social injustice bucket is getting really overfilled and I am really over ruminating about it, sitting and writing a story that is linked to it but is fiction of the worst possible outcome that could happen, but I can somehow flip it around, or if something is really bugging me that I think if we changed this then that would be better, I'll write about the fact that that's happened. And it's like, for that time period, I'm able to just get that information out of my brain, I'm able to put it into a story. I often then bore people by reading it to them. That allows me to process the information, and I've actually found that writing fiction is a really good way for me to deal with my depression and anxiety, on top of the fact that I ruminate because of my autism and ADHD. So it's been a really good tool for me. So I don't know whether other people would feel that that's useful for them. I mean, I very recently got very stressed over a certain situation. It was the riot situation. and what was going on socially with all of that. Now, I'm obviously not going to go into what I felt about it, but I was so stressed and scared about what was happening that I sat and wrote a 10,000 word short story about that situation, which allowed me to process what was going on and actually become much less scared of it, and I wasn't ruminating it, and it kind of just allowed me to get past it, rather than focusing on it, because I can really hyper focus on the fact that something really bad's going to happen, even though it probably isn't going to happen. I just always I've overthought so much that I've thought of all of the possible bad things that are going to happen, and it kind of also almost becomes that is going to happen. Whereas when I write something, I'm getting it out and kind of going, oh, there is a solution to this that isn't all negative. So yeah, this one I feel quite strongly about, actually, that I think it's a really good thing. If you do enjoy writing fiction, it probably is a really good help to sort of aid with rumination, and aid with that sort of overwhelming feeling of despair that we can sometimes get as autistic people, and allow us to process the world around us, because it can be so confusing. The world can be hugely confusing, and when with the world being confusing, we can become overwhelmed and scared by it. So it might even be that if you've had an awkward social situation, that you write about that awkward social situation, but put some positives, put a positive spin on it. See what you could have done differently, if that's what you want to do. If you feel you should have done something differently, or be able to highlight the fact of what was good and how you would interact in a different way. So it's or the next time, sorry, not in a different way. So yeah, I think it being difficult in itself is actually quite helpful for us, because of the fact we will focus quite heavily on doing it. Then we can, as difficult as it is, I think it is really helpful, because it's actually, for me anyway, it can help unblock a lot of that built up pressure that we feel on a day-to-day basis, through fictionizing the end result of something to make it so that maybe we feel better and are less worried about the world in general. So yeah, that's my view on this one. This one's a bit of a shorter video. As with all of these videos, I would love this to become a community for people to talk about how they process these traits, how they deal with them, what they feel, what you feel that the positive elements of these traits are, and any mitigating situations that you have, any ways that you mitigate any traits that are difficult to deal with. I think it'd be great if everybody was able to have that sort of positive conversation, and I'd love that to be what this channel becomes. So thank you very much. If you could comment, that'd be great. Like I say, I would like it to become a community. And if you could share, subscribe, and like, that perfect. I would be very, very happy with that. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.